All right, guys, this is episode 24 of the Sonic Road podcast. Today's guest is Zach Wheeler. He's the drummer and singer in the rock band Howling Giant out of Nashville, Tennessee. Their new album, Crucible and Ruin, will be out on Magnetic Eye Records on October 31st, 2025. So be on the lookout for that. You can go to the Magnetic Eye website and do a pre-order there if you want to get the vinyl, or head on over to howlinggiant.com and support the band there. You can also find the band on Instagram and Facebook at Howling Giant. You can also support this podcast, the Sonic Road Podcast, by going over to YouTube and subscribing, or following us on Instagram as well at the Sonic Road. We'll just get right into it. Here's my interview with Zach Wheeler from Howling Giant. I love having drummers on, man, because I'm a drummer too.
Oh, nice.
I do have questions, but we'll keep it conversational, and whatever we want to talk about, we'll just talk about it.
Yeah. What kind of kit do you have?
I have two. I have a Pearl Masters and a Pearl Session. So one is a birch and one is a maple, and I love them both.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, well, Pearl's in town here in Nashville, and I work one day a week at the drum shop Forks around here, so I'm surrounded by a bunch of cool stuff all the time.
Yeah, it's called Gear Fever. It never goes away. I saw you had a new kit, a new Tama kit. I wanted to pick your brain about that. We'll drum nerd out for a little bit.
Okay, yeah, totally. Yeah.
Everybody. But I'm a drummer. Everybody knows it that listens to this. You have a new Tama kit. I was like looking at, what was it? I have it written down here somewhere. The Tama Star Reserve Starphonic Copper Snare Drum. That thing is a cannon. I might just go ahead and take the plunge and buy my first Tama drum.
Yeah, man, those things sound great. I envy the people that get the bell brass snares.
Yeah.
And we got some of the newer ones in the shop, and it's like, dude, I mean, the snare drum's like 50 pounds, and it's like but I've played them a few times. They sound amazing, but it's like a $3,000 snare drum, and I was like, you can buy a drum set for that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Too, if you're smart.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. There's a point of diminishing returns on some of these prices, I think, because I'm always looking at drums, but man, you can make $1,000 kit or $1,000 guitar sound really good. I think $1,000 to $1,500 on either one, and you got it pretty good. I think
Totally.
$1,000 snare drum. It's like, what is it doing for you?
Yeah, that's the studio guys in town that need to burn some money before the year ends so they can get their tax write-offs. Yeah,
it's a good problem to have.
Yeah. I've rented them. In fact, my buddy had one of the original bell brasses that they did in the 80s, I think it was. He just got it from a dude just who had a huge collection, and I used it on Glass Future on the second full-length record. So I used that for a handful of the songs. I was able to rent it from him though. So, but yeah, they sound awesome. But
they better for this Starphonic copper drum. I think that's what I'm gonna go with next. I just want exploring bigger drums. I noticed on your Instagram that you have a new Tama kit, but I was looking at videos of Howling Giant just to prepare for what we're doing here. But your last couple kits, the toms are bigger. You're going to smaller drums now. Is that the kind of the deal? And if so, why?
Well, yeah, that green drum set is a Tama Star Classic Birch from the early 2000s. And I have 10, 12 rack and 14, 16 on the floor, but I ended up wanting 3 up top. So I took 2 of the floor tom brackets off that 14-inch floor tom.
Okay.
And flipped it upside down and put it up there and racked it. It's a little like too deep for that sort of situation. You kind of got to mess with it to get it right. But at least this one right now, the configuration that the new kit came in was 10, 12 rack, 16 floor. And I could probably add on to it, but like I recently got some rototoms, so I'm just messing around with those as well.
Right on. That's cool.
But yeah, I saw that kit. Like I think Tama posted it on their Instagram a while back, and I was like, whoa, I have to have that for sure. I mean, same thing happened with the green kit. I was working at the drum shop. It came in through the door used, and I went to my boss and I was like, don't let that hit the floor. Dibs. Yeah. So yeah, I've been a Tama guy the whole time. In fact, that was my first drum set. Parents got it for me for Christmas, was the Swing Star. And I was using that for years. Like you said, you can make, and I think like at the time, those were like, it was like $600 gets you everything. The crappy B8 cymbals and the stands that might fall apart, but those drums sound great. And dude, fresh heads on there and drums are round and they go boom. We can
Yeah.
nerd out all day, but same thing with a guitar or anything else. With the right touch, you can make them sing.
Yeah, right. And the head technology too is getting very good now. I mean,
Yeah.
you have a wide range of options to try and get whatever sound you're trying to achieve.
Totally. And
Yeah.
like I'll change day by day depending what we're doing, right? If we're going into the studio, I'm going to use a thinner one ply head because I really want as much tone out of those drums as possible. If we're hitting the road, I mean, a lot of audio guys want you to kind of choke things a little bit more so it's not ringing all day and they don't have to gate nearly as much. And plus, you want something that's going to be a little more durable than like a one ply head. So I like pull the Remo pinstripes out for the road because I know I can get a couple more shows out of them before they're absolutely just cratered in.
Yeah, the pinstripes, the Remo pinstripes, those are old school. All throughout the 90s or 2000s, I was doing those. But then I went over to Evans EQs, the thicker, I think they're 2-ply if I'm not mistaken. I don't know.
Yeah, they do. Yeah, the EQ stuff, I think 2-ply, and sometimes they have that little ring on the back. Yeah.
They take some abuse, that's for sure. Yeah, it's fun to talk about drums. As far as my approach I'm in between projects now, and I'm thinking about getting other drums, like bigger drums, but I don't know. I'm kind of split. Like I might go smaller. I don't know. I want to keep a 22-inch bass drum, maybe go to 24. But there's a drum store. If you're ever up in Cleveland, go check out this store called Steebles.
Yeah.
It's up here in Cleveland. It's a mom and pop joint. Musicians are running it.
Yeah.
I've only been in there once, but they have some really cool custom stuff. They have the Pearl Masters, 24-inch, 18-inch floor tom, 15-inch rack tom. You're not going to find that usually like the Guitar Centers of the world.
No, certainly not. And that's the spot that I used to work at full time, and now I just kind of fill in here and there. Forks Drum Closet down here. When they were doing the 5-star drum shop thing, they were one of those shops, and man, it is insane to see just the types of stuff that comes through. And it's helped me a lot on the road as well. Like I learn a lot of repairs and stuff like that, where I've saved myself and other drummers that we've been on the road with plenty of money when something breaks, and I can go like, sweet, I can deal with this instead of going to pay whatever for repair. We can go to Home Depot and get a part for $1 and make it happen.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Well, we could talk about drums and drumming all day, and maybe we will. We'll talk more about this. We can do whatever we want on this podcast. So it's all good. Thanks for talking to me about drums, man. I love doing it.
Of course. Happy to do it. I'm the biggest nerd in that category.
That's great. So let's start with the little bit of the band's DNA. I was reading, I'm a fairly new fan. I reviewed the new record, which at the time of this recording is not out yet. It's called Crucible and Ruin. I saw you guys open up for Elder a couple years ago at the Grog Shop, which was a great show. Kind of getting into the last record a little bit. And I need a little time because for me, some of the proggy, like the psych rock stuff, it takes like several listens. And I'm a patient guy when it comes to listening. So usually I'll listen to a record like 4 or 5 times and really start getting into the hooks and things like that. But before we get into that, I read that Sebastian's father is Peter Baltus from How did you guys meet and how did that relationship start?
Yeah. So when our original bass player, Roger, kind of was leaving, like the touring lifestyle wasn't for him, we had a good friend, Mike Kerr, filling in when he could, when we had tours, but he has his own kind of music career in the folk scene, so he could only do so much. So we were just in Nashville trying to find people. Tom was dating a girl at the time who worked at the same bar that Sebastian did. And she was like, you guys looking for a bass player? I work with one. And Tom just went over, grabbed a beer from them and started chatting. Seabass got in the room with us and like everything just kind of clicked immediately. And then it wasn't until later that we figured out who his dad was. And we were like, oh, holy crap. That's insane. Peter's so funny, man. He's awesome. He always he loves us and wants to check in and just be like, okay, here's the way to rock. You need stage costumes and you need this. And we're like, I don't know if we're going to do that part, Peter. But I mean, very so insightful. It's nice to have that resource to kind of check in. You send a mix over to him or something. We were able to collaborate with him and Udo on our Shoot to Thrill cover for the Magnetic Eye AC/DC Redux. Yeah. That was just super cool experience. And at the end of that song, we opened up a section. We were like, we need dueling bass solos from Sebastian and his dad. That was a pretty cool project and just sweet, dude. Seabass is truly the best. We lucked out so much in just a random meeting because of Tom's ex-girlfriend at a bar.
That's wild, man. You guys play well together. He's great as a three-piece too. I know your guys are a four-piece now. We'll get into that a little bit, but
Yeah.
working at the beginning of the band as a three-piece can really tighten up a rhythm section for sure. You got to fill in those gaps.
Yeah, especially in those early days, you kind of have, if Tom would go to a lead line or something like that, Seabass is just filling the role of both the rhythm guitar and the bass.
Sure.
So there's a lot of stuff where he just had to like take up a lot of room, and he was able to get in there. Like you hit some distortion or something like that, or fuzz on your bass, and like you had a bit of a pedal board setup to make that happen. But it does, everyone's a little more present because there's nowhere to hide, you know?
Right. It's a challenge for sure. I've been in some couple three-piece bands. You guys are in Nashville. I was really curious because strangely enough, I've not been to Nashville yet, as big of a music guy as I am. How's that city view rock and roll and psych rock? Because it's mainly known as country songwriters and country artists. So how's the rock scene there? And is there a big support there? Or do you guys have to travel outside of Nashville to get more support?
There's a lot in the mainstream rock world for sure around here. I think that a lot of the like radio rock, radio metal bands, once they figured out that Nashville was a lot cheaper than LA or New York, all of Korn now lives south in the Franklin area, and Hailstorm is here. So that world, a lot of them moved here. A lot of the hired guns that work for whoever, studios or live bands for country, they have multiple gigs. So there's people that'll play in like Gene Simmons's backing band, and then they'll come home and do a country gig. So I think the thing that we found with most of the hired guns around here is like they're all rockers. So like they all will unite. There was this thing, the Rock and Roll Residency. I think it was on Mondays or something, but basically all these musicians would get together and cover classic rock and metal tunes together. Just as the blow off steam, hey, we played country all weekend, time to riff. Yeah. So there's a really good just community around here of just talented musicians that can play pretty much anything. At least in this underground scene that we're at, it goes in waves like it does for any city. But I think, I forget who I was talking to, but All Them Witches was really great for the scene around here because they brought together a lot of the stuff in this stoner doom scene, but also the East Nashville kind of indie rock psychedelic scene that's a little different, but like you had all walks of underground music life coming to an All Them Witches show. So that was a big development around here for sure a few years back when they were just kind of getting started.
I don't think they're in town anymore. I think
they all pretty much moved out.
Well, life changes, I guess. But you know, the Black Keys moved down there. They're from Akron.
Right. Yeah. It's like Jack White has the whole thing here. I mean, Third Man Records is awesome. And yeah, like literally any style of music you can find here.
That's great, man. Going back to the three-piece thing, you guys are now a quartet with the addition of Adrian. Can you tell me a little bit about the story about him joining? Because going back to what I was saying earlier, like I've been in 2 3-piece bands and the conversation was, man, there's always something missing. So you do a couple records as a 3-piece and you get that missing element in it. It's like opens up all these kind of doors. Is that kind of how it was for you guys? And kind of go through meeting Adrian and going through
Totally. That? Yeah. So for our records, we always had our good friend Drew Herrickle, and he did all the synths and keys from the first EP through Glass Future, pretty much. But he was the touring keyboard player for this outlaw country guy, Cody Jinks.
Oh, yeah.
So that was his full-time gig. But he was happy to throw down on the records. We were dear friends. So he always did. He always came in, worked on the records with us. But then you go to do it live and you got to be like, all right, who plays what? Maybe Tom is playing a guitar part, but he's like, you know what? Drew's line is cool here. Maybe I should play the key part instead. And you're starting to notice these parts that you need multiple, like either 2 guitars or guitars and keys on. So a while back, we brought our friend Marshall on. He played keys for a couple tours. He ended up leaving. He was actually a drummer, so he wanted to get back into more drumming, which is fair. And then our buddy James, who helps us with like some production and lyrics and stuff like that, he hopped in on second guitar for about a year. And then he had to leave due to some family stuff, but he still gets involved a little bit on the writing side when he has time because it's just a nice creative outlet for him. Still a really good friend, and it's great to have an extra set of ears when we're writing.
Yeah, absolutely.
But we were trying to figure out like, oh, okay, well, what do we do? We really liked having a second guitar player, and we'd known Adrian for years, like from when he was in Brujas del Sol out of Columbus, and
Oh,
then
oh yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
then moving down to Asheville with his other band Shadow Cloak.
Okay.
And James was the one. He was like, well, I know who's replacing me. It's Adrian. And we were
Right.
like, we'll see if he's interested first. Like, he's a busy guy. He lives 4.5 hours from us here. So we'll have to figure out how that works, not being in the same town. And Tom ended up talking to Adrian, and it all came together. Adrian and his wife came to visit us. We auditioned him in the middle of January of this year, and it just all clicked. And then we were like, hey, do you want to play on the record? We're recording in a month. He came up with some parts real quick. So this is the first record that we haven't had Drew playing keys on, because Adrian fully took over all those duties, because the goal is to have Adrian play both guitar and keys in the live show. As of right now, we were just like, let's focus in on getting that second guitar texture in there first before we start adding more pieces to the setup puzzle, which can always be
Right.
a little crazy.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And as a drummer too, like how has adding guitar and synth changed your approach in the writing process? Because that can be what's crazy is that you sing and play drums too, which I'm gonna add a little bit. That's so hard. I'm not a singer, but I admire drummers who are singing in the way that you're doing it with the drums too, because you're pretty active as a drummer. But how does
Yeah.
that change your approach to songwriting as a drummer?
Yeah. I mean, so when it comes to songwriting, and specifically at least drum part writing for me, I tend to think of myself as a little more of a melodic drum player. Like I think of I think like Keith Moon and stuff like that, but not as insane. There was a
Yeah,
way
right.
that he was able to accent different instruments. He could accent this guitar line, or we go back syncing in with the bass, or there's a sweet vocal line and you can match the rhythm of that melody. It's like, what are you picking to accent? What am I drawing attention to?
Right.
Is like what I see my role as. So getting another texture in there is just another option for me to be like, all right, Adrian's just laying down something that's a little more drony. Let's not worry about that right now. But then he goes into some syncopated line, and I go,
Right.
nope, we need to call that out even more.
Right.
So then I'll match something to that. So it's just, for me, it's just more options.
That's cool. I actually talked to Ron Nevison, the guy who produced Quadrophenia a while ago, and I was trying to pull those Keith Moon stories out of him. It
Yeah.
was hard because it's been so long ago now. I'm sure it's hard to remember a lot of that stuff. But yeah, man, drummers like Keith Moon were one of a kind for sure. The songs were just really strong, but trying to wrangle him in the studio was pretty tough.
Probably a nightmare.
Yeah, yeah, he's duct taping his headphones over his head, screaming at the top of his lungs, like,
Yeah.
"Stop that, dude! Your overheads are gonna pick that up."
Yeah. It's ambiance.
Yeah, for sure. Well, this is your first album, meaning Crucible and Ruin. I know it's not out quite yet, but soon. Before you guys recorded in a home studio, and you've moved into a new studio for this one, which was outside of what's called the bunker, your home studio. What intrigued me was like you're in Nashville, and then you recorded the album in Athens, Ohio. What took you to Athens out of Nashville? Because there's obviously no shortage of recording studios in that town. What took you to Athens?
So our buddies Horseburner put out a record,
Yeah, absolutely.
Voice of Storms, and also they've worked with Neil many times. We were listening to the record in the van, and the van has a horrible sound system. So everything sounds like ass through that
Cats, though.
system. Yeah. But Voice of Storms was heavy, but everything was still clear. It sounded perfect. We were like, if this record sounds good in the van, like
Right.
that's an achievement. Then we get the vinyl, we're listening to it. Everything that Neil did sounds great. So we just connected through the Horseburner guys, and we were like, what do we do? How do we work with Neil? And yeah, just started sending him. We overwrote for this record like we did with Glass Future as well, where we sent a bunch of songs, and we were like trying to bring him in on the production role a little bit early, and being like, all right, what kind of works together? So we started talking, then we booked the date and pretty much knocked it out. And yeah, very happy with all the tones that we got. He and I sat in there for 4 hours tuning my drums and hitting them under mics to be like, what's the perfect sound? And more props to Tama drums, because we tune those drums And for it took me about 3 full tracking days to get everything I needed drum wise.
Okay.
But man, those drums stayed locked in tune.
Really?
Like amazing. It's like we kept on checking tuning and stuff, and we had a digital tuner that we kept checking with, and they all stayed locked. It was like, that's awesome. But we got these really cool sounds. We got to take time with guitar tones, bass tones,
Mhm.
mess around with vocals a little bit more. We ended up taking a quick break after the 10 or so days that we were there for about 2 weeks. And then we came back and did just a vocal weekend with him to wrap up, give the voice a chance to chill. We're not professional singers. So, like, when we were digging into 12-hour vocal recording days, we were like, you hit
Oh,
about 8 p.m. and you're like,
I got
my voice
stopped.
feels tired. Yeah. And then you
Yeah.
can hear how tired it is in the booth. So it's like, all right, we don't want to track this. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, you got to take a little break. Jeez, yeah, that's a long time to do vocal parts, man. 8 hours.
Yeah.
Damn,
Yeah.
it's like how many hours can you do? I'm always thinking about that with like vocalists like Chris Cornell, for instance, like
Mhm.
tracking bad motor fingers. How many takes did you do? I'd love to talk to Terry Date. I'm trying to get him on maybe someday.
Yeah. So,
That dude like went through 8 hours of singing Slaves and Bulldozers over and over again. That sounds like a
right.
one or two take because it's so brutal.
Oh yeah. And I think with bands that big, there's a certain amount of budget where you have time and you split it up a lot more.
Yeah.
The benefit that we have though is that Tom and I are both doing a lot of singing. So we could go, Tom's in the booth for a bit, and then I'll pop in while he lets his voice rest, and we're back and forth all day. Seabass always adds a few extra vocal textures just at the very end too. So we like to add some stacks in there. We could rotate, but it's a lot of singing for like guys who are not trained singers.
Right, sure. You can't tell because you guys sound really good both
Oh,
on
thank you.
and live together. It's amazing, but I'm sure that takes years of learning how to sing with each other too.
Yeah.
Voice is different.
There's a lot of making a harmony lock is pretty hard. Tom had a sang in his high school chorus and stuff. So there's a lot of technique there in a choral section. Everyone's matching vowels and stuff like that to make this shimmer. So Tom and I in the very beginning spent a lot of time just straight up. He'd just have an acoustic or just behind the piano. And we're just trying to match vowel sounds, like singing at each other's face, looking at
Right.
the shapes your mouth is making to try to figure out how to make it lock. And that practice paid off because now we're in the studio and we can instruct each other. And Tom could listen to my vocal take and be like, okay, your A is leaning a little too hard in this direction. Do this. And then you hear it all lock and come together. It's just like,
Wow.
yeah, it's very nitpicky, but it's so worth it because I think like you get some really cool vocal blend.
Yeah. It's awesome to hear that you guys are doing it. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Especially in this day and age, because it's easy to fix that stuff now. And I've worked with singers in the past where they'll do a killer take and we'll just bump it just a slight bit, just to put it right where it needs to be. It's just almost there. But props to you guys for learning it and doing it in that old school fashion.
Yeah.
It shines through. I think anybody that's trying to achieve these sounds should keep working hard to do that.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, that's the whole thing is
You
like,
got to do it live.
right. You have
Yeah.
to do it live. And I think pulling that off, there aren't a lot of bands within our scene that are doing a ton of vocal harmonies. And that's one thing from
Yeah.
the beginning. We were like, how do we set ourselves apart here? And let's get everybody singing. Like, you don't have to be the greatest singer in the world. You just have to be good and you got to work your ass off and you
Right.
can make something that sounds awesome. And like in the beginning, it's almost like the harmonies were helping us hide a little bit the fact that we weren't like trained singers. And then as we got better and practiced and took some vocal lessons and stuff like that, now we're starting to play with, I feel like, really interesting, intricate parts.
For the people that are in bands like interested in this, how many vocal lessons did you guys take vocal lessons together, number one? And then how many did it take before you guys were like, okay, I think we at least understand it now?
Yeah, Tom's been the one that has mostly done that. We haven't taken anything together, but we like, luckily being in Nashville, we have a lot of friends who are amazing vocalists and stuff. We're always picking up pointers. Tom took some from a teacher in his studio. I'll always find there's a ton of vocal lessons on YouTube from great singers for like beginners almost and figuring out like what you have to do to sing properly. When we were in college, actually, Tom and I took a vocals for the non-vocalist class.
Oh,
and
right.
and that was really cool to just get this technique. All right, how do you practice? What are you doing with your diaphragm? How much air can you get? The one thing I'm working on now is trying to find somebody who is a drummer who teaches vocal lessons, because it's a whole nother ball game when like you're sitting down
Oh,
and
yeah.
the posture like determines how much air you get in your lungs. So
Absolutely
it's
right.
like posture is so important back there just playing drums, but then to sing and have enough air and be strong with it is quite difficult. So that's my current journey.
Do you
Yeah.
remember the first song you sang and played drums live in a live situation? How'd it go?
Man, I think it might have been either Mothership from our EP Black Hole Space Wizard. That was one of the first ones. It was all within a set because we probably were playing 30-minute sets at that time. And when our first bass player left, he was the one that did all the vocal harmonies. And we couldn't ask people to fill in on bass and learn all these harmonies
Mhm.
that were so like important to these songs. So I just started working and I learned the set and we figured it out. But definitely Mothership was the first one I remember. All right, I'm locking in.
Sure.
And there weren't too many within that song, which was nice. I could sing and then I'm playing and then I'm singing and then I'm playing, and that was enough to get started.
That's great. Well, let's talk about the album a little bit. Reading a little bit in the new bio, tell us the story of the novice deity clashing with primordial chaos. And this is in regard to your new one, Crucible and Ruin.
Hmm. Yeah, so we were talking about concept when we had a few songs kind of locked in already and started to get lyrics together. And we always tend to lean towards having a concept for writing, whether that's a linear kind of story or just these are different snapshots within a world or universe or whatever it is
Sure.
within a story. The theme we started writing around was the idea of lesser gods. So the four that are represented within Crucible and Ruin are there's like a novice world builder, and there is like the primordial chaos is beholder 1 and 2, kind of world eater, destructive chaos situation. We explore the themes of the humans or beings or whoever that are living on these worlds and trying to connect with their gods. And then there's one last character, the archivist, that is just a cosmic librarian that is a very neutral being that is just recording all of this stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, you guys, you have to sit there and talk about this, right? How does this happen? Concept albums to me are insanely, you got to be insanely talented and have this huge imagination. Do you guys write stories outside of songwriting?
Not really. We're all pretty like avid gamers and stuff. Like
Definitely.
we play a ton Dungeons and Dragons and stuff. And like
Sure.
in D&D, you could buy a module and it takes you through the story. But the type of gaming that we do is like whoever's the dungeon master will come up with a world and a story. And I think that has really lent itself to our lyric writing, because when we first sit down, we're like, we're not songwriters. We don't know what to write about, like whatever. And then we go, oh, great. Or something like that, something in the fantasy world. And lately we've been trying to work a little harder at bringing some of the personal experience into some of that. So there's a bit of double meaning here and there. And that was with James's involvement. He really helped us unlock a new lyric ability.
Sure.
So we're trying to like Mastodon does a great job of that. They have all these fantastical sci-fi fantasy themes, and then but they're talking about something that happened to them. They talk
Right.
about everything that happens. Like I think they mentioned Troy's wife getting cancer a few
Sure.
years back, and so it all folds into this story that they're telling.
Right.
And at least for Crucible and Ruin, it was just where we were at the time. I think we were trying to we hadn't played D&D in a while, and we were exploring these lesser gods, and we were like just playing a campaign and kind of thinking loosely about what story we could tell.
Yeah, that's cool. You mentioned Mastodon. I feel bad for those guys, man. It seems like every album cycle, something horrific happens to them.
Yeah,
I
it's
mean, you know,
pretty wild.
it's like, and now losing Brent, it's like, well, shit, you're gonna write another album about another tragedy. I don't know what they're
Right,
gonna do, but
right.
yeah, just mentioning that, it's like, damn, kind of hits hard a little bit, man.
Right.
Brent, I was a big Mastodon fan, still am. Well, it'll be interesting to see after they've lost such an important element, see how that band evolves. But yeah, it's
Right.
what you're saying with their lyrical concepts, their art concepts, all that stuff. It's all really tied into like personal experience too. It's
Yeah.
like they could write a graphic novel and tie it to an album someday. Maybe they'll do that.
Yeah. Which, speaking of that, like one of my biggest influences is Coheed and Cambria.
Oh yeah,
And that's like, talk about the biggest nerd band ever. You get the
yeah,
graphic novels, like the high concept, everything else. So they're always one that I'm thinking of. Just, what would Claudio do here? You
yeah,
know?
yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
I'm not a big comic guy. I play a couple of video games here and there just to wind down after a long
Hmm.
day sometimes when everything else is done. I've been dabbling in Skyrim over the last 10 years.
There
That's
you
what I
go.
always go back to
Yeah.
because you can just get lost in these worlds and kind of cool to see. But album artwork does that for me too. It really draws me in. Mastodon, of course, is a great example of that. You have a backstory on this new artwork that's coming out. It's painted by Tom's mother, and it's different than the previous album covers. There's a different style. Can you share the story of how that came to be? And did she create it for the concept of the album, or was it just something different?
We so the way we usually work with Tom's mom is Tom and I will get together and talk about album themes and what we want to do, and we'll send just a horrific looking sketch because we're definitely not visual artists. We'll be like something like this, and it's like crappy stick figures and
Yeah,
horrible lines. And then she comes back with her first draft, and it's like always amazing. It's like, how do you know exactly how to pull out what's in our brains? The alcohol ink on Yupo paper, it's like a not very forgiving style because the way that it bleeds out.
right.
But Sue has just mastered this, and she did it with Glass Future and a little bit with the gatefold of Space Between Worlds.
Okay.
And so over the years has been like really getting into this style, and we love it, and it's pretty unique. We don't see a lot of bands doing that style of art, and I think that's just super cool. Helps us stand out a little bit more. And we just took album themes and brought them to her, and we went through a few drafts, and here we are. And the full piece is amazing. When you get the full album opened up, it's sick.
That looks cool. Yeah, that's crazy that she's done other art from you because I've looked at your album covers. I don't have any of the vinyl yet, but
Hmm.
it looks different. It looks like
Yeah,
it's really
different colors do different things with that ink, which is like pretty interesting because Glass Future is a lot of reds and oranges and stuff like
sure.
that.
Yeah,
And the minute that we were like, all right, we need a lot more green, like darker stuff for this record, like
yeah,
thinking about the Grove and like a possible like druid hut and some burning in the background. So
right.
the ink just like on Glass Future, there's this nice blend and it really goes
Sure.
from one to the other. And then this was a lot more stark. And I think that is just awesome. Also, like in the interest of thinking about, all right, we're at a show, we're selling vinyl. You're looking down and every album looks very different was kind of the idea too. It's like, all right, this is hopefully indicative of the music within as well.
Right. As a fan too of this genre and all these rock derivative genres, I appreciate that. I like vinyl. I like full albums. The single thing is kind of starting to get old.
Yeah, we've never really been a single band ourselves. We're always trying to make a record, and we want somebody to listen to the whole thing in the
Yes.
order that we've put those songs. That's
Right.
always been the focus for us.
Right. Yeah. I've done it in bands too, and it's a big buzzkill, man. Trying to follow what the industry is currently doing. And then
Sure.
you do it a couple times, and it's just, man, this is an album really should be like Christmas for a fan. You get the
Yeah.
whole thing. And it's a bummer. I'm glad you guys are doing that. And a lot of the bands that are in these genres are sticking to that format, that art of making a full album.
Yeah. Should be an experience for the listener.
Another experience is the new video for Hunter's Mark. I just checked that out yesterday and I was like, I've
Yeah.
watched it like 3 times since. Cool, man. It's fully animated for anybody who hasn't seen it yet. It is on YouTube. You guys can check it out there. What made you decide to go that route to introduce the album story, I guess?
Yeah. So Willie, Polar Desert Studios, who did that video, we worked with him for the Aluminum Crown video from Glass Future. And I wanted we filmed green screen like in my living room, and he put us on
Oh,
this floating island and animated the dragon behind it. But I wanted to work with him again, but do something different. So he talked about the whole like static animation blending of 2D and 3D
Yeah.
backgrounds, because I think you can, one, you can get a lot more out of a video that way. Like we're a DIY mostly band, so budget's not huge, and
Right.
you can get a lot of animation out of that. And Willie did a great job just pulling it all together. And again, taking something that we had in our brain and translating it visually. Yeah. And then we just went through, hopped on a call, talked about themes and everything else. And he was like, sweet, I got it. He sent a bunch of just concept art. And we were like, yeah, like all in. So yeah, we are very lucky to work with many amazing visual artists.
Are you going to do more with him on this
Yeah.
album cycle?
Not on this album cycle. We did the other video for Beholder 1 with our good buddy Jerry Rowe, who plays in Friendship Commanders. He does a bunch of music videos in town, and he does stuff there too. So we have that live video, or live, but
Yeah.
playing video. But I think we are sticking to 2 videos for this one. We're going to try to get a little more involved with the YouTube channel and do a lot more playthroughs so people can like learn parts if they want to. Because I know there's some demand for that. We always get messages, people being like, do you have the guitar tabs? How do you play this part? How do you do this thing? And if we were able to show people, that would be a lot easier rather than just randomly recording a minute section and be like, kind of like this.
Yeah. Right now, I think YouTube is underused for bands. They throw their videos up, and then that's usually pretty much it. But any bands in your guys' position and smaller should really cultivate a community there. I'm doing it, and it's my biggest platform, and it's really turning into social media now for sure.
Yeah.
A lot of bands underutilize YouTube, man. So that's a really good idea, and it'll really get your guys' songs out and all that too. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Kind of moving on, we're going to stick with the record because
Sure.
I think so far it's my favorite. I've been bouncing back in between the 2023 release Glass Future and this one, just getting back into it. But what's your experience been like working with Magnetic Eye again? They seem to be a really killer independent label. I've been talking with those guys off and on, and already had a couple of their other artists on.
Yeah, Jad's amazing.
Yeah.
We've known him for years. He first hollered at us for a Pink Floyd Redux way back for the bonus disc, and just connected from there. And then we just became good friends. He put out the first EP. He just did a remaster via Blues Funeral, and then did our first record with Blues Funeral, his personal label. And then as Magnetic Eye was bought out by the Speaker family, they just put Jad in charge there too. So then Jad runs everything for Magnetic Eye. So the dude's a busy guy. He also helps out with Ripple, and like he is everywhere. He is all knowing, all seeing.
Yeah.
But just the nicest guy, works his butt off, like, and just so incredibly helpful. He has rallied for us and helped us get on certain tours and connected the dots to like just help the band when he's not really getting anything out of it outside of, all right, well, the band's going to sell some stuff, but he's so invested in us specifically. And it's been so nice to have somebody backing us and somebody in our corner to help us fight for. There are a million bands out there, and how do you stand out? And Jad has been so helpful. Magnetic Eye has been so helpful with all of that.
Yeah, he's awesome. I need to try and get him on. Greenleaf, I just had them on.
Oh, yeah.
I need to get Jad on here because
Jad also sings in Blue Heron.
Oh, he's in Blue Heron. Okay.
Yeah. So they're in Europe right now, I believe. So yeah, they'll be back, and yeah, you get him on. I'll heckle him.
There's a huge scene out there for this type of music, and out there in Europe. And there's a lot of bands here too that can really benefit from the scene too. And man, number one, we need to get those European bands over to America more. I know Slomosa comes over a lot, but Greenleaf is coming next September. I'm probably gonna have to go out there and check that out. That's in Austin. So
Ripple Fest. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, that might be one to just go out there and maybe score some podcasts live. That's kind of what I want to start doing.
We've played a few times, and it's always just an amazing experience. Ryan from High Desert Queen puts that festival together and has grown it from like, you do it the first time and you're like, well, I hope people show up. And now people are traveling to from all over to hit that festival. He's done an amazing job.
Yeah. I think Who's playing that next year? Greenleaf's playing it. Is Lowrider playing it? They're coming out to one of those.
I can't remember. Yeah, I know Greenleaf for sure though. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to get out there. I was giving Arvid a hard time. It's like, come on, dude, come to
Yeah.
America. He's like, I know, man. We're trying. We're trying.
Yeah.
They had a tour book like 10 years ago, and then they had to cancel it. And I was like, I had
Oh, yeah.
tickets to Pittsburgh. He's like, a lot of people were mad at us. I was like, it's not your fault, man.
Yeah.
Just come out more. He's like, they have a lot of streaming out here, so
Hmm.
they just have to play a lot of shows too. It's expensive, so they don't.
Right. The visas for European bands to get here it's insane. It's a huge cost. So I know it's hard. We were just out last year with Mars Red Sky, and you basically buy the visa for a year. So that's why you see when bands come over from Europe, they will hit it hard in the US to try to cover as much as they can within that year period to make back everything and cover their expenses. It's pretty nuts.
I didn't know that. So is it hard to renew? Yeah, well, it's the cost. That's what it is.
It's the cost, really. Yeah. Just pretty gnarly. And also, you see a lot of bands where even though they put in for the visa well ahead of time, like 6 to 8 months ahead of time, I've seen tours for European bands canceled 2 weeks before because they just deny them and there's no time to appeal or anything else.
That's brutal,
what do you
man.
suppose? It's insane. Yeah.
I was talking to Nick from Elder, and he's like, if you have American citizens in your band, it's like because their band is mixed, so they have European citizens and American. He's like, it's not as bad, but getting their European bandmates out is expensive. But going the other way, it's not. Europe lets Americans come over there for pretty cheap or cheaper anyway.
Yeah. In our experience, it was like you occasionally pay like the tourist tax in the town of €5 or something, and it's like, well, okay, that's fine.
Yeah. Boo.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, you guys tour a lot. Do you tour Europe a lot? I know you tour the Americas a lot.
We've only done Europe once, October 2023, basically right before Glass Future came out. We went over with label mates and dear friends, Heavy Temple. So we did that tour with them. And we've been trying to get back over. We recently got a new booking agent over there, and he is working on a return May to June next year. So hopefully we'll have some announcements for that real soon. We're hitting the West Coast March, April.
Ooh, great.
And then, yeah, basically with this record coming out at the end of the year, the goal is next year is be on the road as much as possible. So we're coordinating with both the European booker and the North American booker to just make sure that we hit every possible market that we can to at least play or show as many people the record as we can.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's living the dream, man.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah. The album drops on Halloween. Was there a specific reason for that? Obviously, it's cool.
Yeah, I think it was just with it being a Friday, we knew that we were going to get an October release date, and Friendship Commander's record just came out through Magnetic Eye this past Friday, and we were like, all right, let's make sure that we have enough time between those releases just to make sure they get the appropriate amount of visibility and all that stuff. So that's the nice thing. Again, like going back to Magnetic Eye, something that they're considering is like, all right, let's make sure we don't cannibalize each band that we have and we're supporting like their sales. Right. They're not going to try to put two bands out on the same release day.
Yeah.
Because they want all their bands to succeed. And that's like, yeah, just again, very thoughtful. You don't always see that. Even things as small as that.
Yeah, they seem like they got it together. All the bands, they all sound great. All the albums look great. They're everywhere.
Yeah.
They're building their own brand within the bands. It's like kind of like Sub Pop in the 80s and early 90s. They're doing a really good job with that.
Yeah.
Hopefully it just gets bigger and bigger. For listeners just discovering Howling Giant with this record, what's the one thing you hope they take away from it? It's obviously a leap up. I've only listened to the last one and this one, but it's definitely a bigger record. It sounds like, really cohesive.
Yeah, and production-wise, Neil Turry just did an amazing job with getting all the tones like locked in and the mix. I mean, and the master, Brad Boatwright, too. Like, we wanted to go for a little more of a modern sound versus some of the stuff we've done in the past, which is a little more of like kind of some of that 70s, 80s prog kind of production for sure. So we wanted things to be a little more crisp on this one. I hope that people just take away like, one, we write whatever we feel like writing and never to expect us to do one thing, but really I hope the hooks stay with them, whether it's a guitar line or a vocal melody. We want people to remember the record when they go see a show. Can you sing the chorus that you just heard? How memorable is that for you? So obviously we want to have everyone to have a good time and enjoy this record. And yeah.
Awesome, man. I'll be looking for tour dates. I know you guys are coming down to Columbus in November. I'll try and make that's a tough one for me, but I'll definitely try and get out there. But definitely Cleveland. Come back
Yes,
soon.
we definitely will. We are due. We are well overdue for a Cleveland date.
Yeah, hopefully in the new year. I'll be keeping my eyes out for that. Anything else you want to say before we sign off?
We're on all the social media, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, X, whatever it's called these days. Email list, pretty easy to find, just at Howling Giant with all of that. We will stream on Twitch occasionally, like probably a few weeks before each tour. That's just Howling Giant official. And yeah, hope you enjoy the record.
Do you guys game on Twitch?
We don't. We haven't yet. We're not good at those types of games. So maybe that's entertaining in its own way, though.
Yeah, well, yeah, you get these kids that are like 15 years old and have 20/20 vision, and
Yeah.
like I cannot compete with these kids who are like
Yeah.
playing these. Some of these people play video games in arenas. You've seen this?
Yeah.
Like they fill arenas.
Nowhere,
People watch
yeah.
people play video games. It's pretty wild.
There's no way I could do that. But
No.
if you think it's funny to watch somebody get wrecked by those
Yeah.
kids online, then yeah, then we'll do it.
Yeah, every time I play video games, sometimes I just walk around and die the whole time. It's like, why am I doing this? Time
Yep.
to shut it off. Go play guitar or something. I
Yep.
guess. All right, Zach, it's been great talking to you. Go get Crucible and Ruin on October 31st from Howling Giant. And right now, we're going to sign off. We'll be back soon.